Well, everyone, welcome back to the news where the media have done it again. And what's quite funny is not to say that the Telegraph have kind of reposted something from Chinese state media, but at least part of it they have. Because the headline they ran with is gaming spiritual opium for teenagers? And if you just watched the video that we did about the origin of that, the situation that went on in China rather recently, and the cultural significance of calling it specifically spiritual opium, you'll know that that's like pretty big. And the Telegraph going in this angle is certainly interesting. It's one way to do it. So yes, they published an article warning that the normalization of the use of screens is potentially harmful to teenage brains. So to do some quotes, and I think the very important one, just in case you weren't sure where this came from, "It will surely never happen again, but every parent must have been nodding in agreement with Chinese state media yesterday." Cool. There is just that bit of me that sort of thinks if this is the position you're in, then interesting. To go on, though, for some other quotes. "It's time all of us woke up to the opioid possibility of gaming before teenage screen addiction becomes another global pandemic." Another one. "Families began to share their TVs and homes with PlayStations and Wiis, still sold as a fun group experience. Yet, by the turn of the 21st century, suddenly, games could be played anywhere and any time, and we parents enabled it." Whew. Bloody hell. The implication appears to be that online gaming has become this seedy retreat, a kid sneaking off to his bedroom to get some late night Fortnite, some late night Apex in. Good God. I remember sneaking off to my bedroom to play some 3 a.m. RuneScape. Absolute plight in society it was. Also, in the margin of the piece, it brings up the health effects, including Gamer's Thumb. Gamer's Thumb, the pandemic sweeping the nation. Short-sightedness, disturbed sleep, obesity, posture issues. And to all these, I would say, yeah, those things are all issues. They're also issues if you work at a desk on a computer, and that's a lot of the economy these days. So guess what? You should be teaching your kids how to use things responsibly and correctly. Things such as saying, "Have you been looking at a screen for an hour straight? Well, how about you look at something out the window, just for a bit to help your eye muscles relax?" Or posture. "Hey, how about you put your screen in a good position? How about, you get your kids a good chair, one that supports their back correctly?" Lots of little things like this, which we should be educating people, because not only will they help them get out of things like obesity, bad posture, disturbed sleep, gamer's thumb, and short-sightedness in the context of gaming, it'll also help them generally in life. So, it seems like we're kind of missing the point if we're just saying that this is a problem caused by gaming, when in reality it's a problem that we just face because of friggin' everything. And then it moves on to one specific subject. Abby Silver, crime thriller, author, and mother of a gamer.
Oh no.
God help her. TLDR. Her teenage son had a gaming addiction, which resulted in severe family issues, to the point where she considers Fortnite an unregulated drug. And if she thinks that, then I think, I consider it to be a little bit thick. Because I'll tell you this, whenever people see something that is, an issue like this, and their first thing is, "Oh, we have to solve this by force," I'm like, okay, cool. You're clearly not interested in thinking about this deeply. You're just going in with the hammer. But yes, she claims that the games industry is unregulated. The time spent gaming isn't regulated. There are regulatory bodies. Now, yeah, to say that the games industry is unregulated is a fucking stupid and ignorant statement that has, it's just not true. Literally not true. It's simple as that, right? It's not true. Now, yes, time spent gaming is not regulated, but time spent on the television isn't regulated. And I'm fairly sure we live in a society here where we don't believe that those things should be regulated by the state. Because if you're going to start regulating how much time children can spend playing video games, I mean, what? Is that going to be a per game rule? Oh no, now my kid, they're going to play 2 hours of Fortnite, then they're going to play 2 hours of Apex. Okay, cool. So how about we try to think of some implementation on a time spent gaming regulation? Because it's not just per game parental controls, which, by the way, Abby, actually exist. It's not just that. You need a way to tie this back to your child's identity, and then a way to track them across all of the gaming that they do. So that's what you're really asking for if you hold this position. But, you know, maybe you're a crime thriller author and you don't actually know about tech. You don't know how something like this would be implemented. And yeah, sure, you can maybe make a case to a bunch of stupid politicians who don't understand things either. But I think anybody who knows how things actually operate, how things actually get implemented, kind of knows what's up here. To move on to some other things, though. Right, so this is about Aaron, her son, Fortnite. Aaron seemed obsessed with the addictive dopamine-releasing game. You know, Fortnite crawls into your eye, gets up into your brain, and just like hits that dopamine button. Yeah, it does. Because it's actually, by all accounts, a pretty fun and well-made game. Now, you actually have a role as a parent. I'll just keep on going because I think what she says is so ridiculous. I was shocked that there was something out there, unregulated and freely available to our kids, which was considered highly dangerous, but nobody was doing anything about it. It was like someone was coming into my son's bedroom at night and injecting him with an addictive drug. Well, Abby, I hope that if somebody did come into your house at night and inject your son with a addictive drug, then you'd do more about it than you seem to have done this time. And I get it's probably caused family issues. I imagine there has been big arguments and problems at the Silver household, but fundamentally, if you're saying that, then you clearly don't understand what's going on or how to deal with the situation. And maybe that's why it seems like Abby is going for calling for regulation and stuff like that, when in reality, this is a bottom-up issue. This is an issue that is a fundamental societal principle. There will always be things that are engaging that capture people's attention. We, as a society that includes parents, have got to be able to, from a bottom-up way that does not involve government regulation, deal with issues like this. Because that's the only way we're going to find a long-term and lasting solution. I think you have rather blunt thinkers try to come up with solutions like this. To continue. Although a significant bank of research links high levels of online gaming with depression, social anxiety, suicidal tendencies, and difficulties in holding down relationships, they are not joined up and rarely supported by public health initiatives. There should be a public health response and for this to be seen as a public health crisis. There is nothing about regulating games manufacturers who need to be accountable, just as tobacco and gambling companies are. Yeah, because Fortnite is even in the same universe as tobacco.
Apparently it is, at least in how this person feels about it.
Yes, well, let's talk about her book. Because she's a crime thriller author, and is it almost like she has, you could say, there's two different ways of this going, that she is a grifter, that her book is basically about video games bad. That's one way. The other way is that actually, her experience of games as a mother, she seemingly is not somebody who understands them much. Clearly not enough to be able to, equip the family with a way of responding with this, it seems.
Yeah. I will lead the fact that we're talking about her book with one little thing that I thought, this is why I thought this was important. Because obviously, it's her, it's not like we're looking at her separately from the context here. The book is brought up consistently in the article.
Yes.
And right at the very end, it says, Aaron has stopped gaming. It wasn't a result of my efforts. He went into sixth form. Something made him decide to focus more on his work and spend less time gaming, which is good. And then it says, not everyone may be so fortunate. The Midas Game by Abby Silver, Lightning Books, $8.99, is published tomorrow.
Yeah. Follow the money. Follow the money. And actually, whenever the games companies and Yuki hits back against Abby, I also earn this article and stuff. I also have to say, follow the money.
Yeah.
Because, it's a little bit odd because I've been in rooms with Joe Twist in front of me, giving a presentation. I've been at the Yuki booth as somebody there with a delegation. And yet I still would have criticisms of how Yuki really, I think, tries to downplay and obviously be cozied up to the big publishers, right? So, always follow the money. It's a good thing to do. But yeah, for her book then, well, here's just a fun little... Is this from the blurb?
Yeah, the synopsis has these 2 quotes.
Okay. Did he target her because of her anti-gaming views and the work she undertook to expose the dangers of playing online games? But just because he makes a living killing people on screen doesn't mean he'd do it in real life. Or does it? Woo! Gaming YouTuber going to murder someone.
Yep.
Because that's, I think, the premise of the book. That gaming YouTuber murder someone.
Yep, that's the the premise of the book is that it's called the Midas game, and it is that, which I mean, the Midas touch, Midas game doesn't make a lot of sense anyway. I mean, maybe it's revealed in the book, but it is a local, I think he's an esports gamer and a gaming YouTuber who is under investigation for the murder of a local anti-online gaming psychiatrist who was trying to expose the dangers of online gaming. And the whole thing is, did he kill her? Did he not?
Self. Insert much. Perhaps insert of the sister, which we have to get into too.
Yep.
But I think it just means that, like, look, Abby financially benefits from this whole situation, and this Telegraph article is, like, actively promoting her book, while also bringing up stuff from Chinese state media. It's bit of a bad look, but here's the problem. We understand this situation well because we play games. We know the industry. If you're just somebody on a government committee, you're like, oh, it's the respected newspaper, the Telegraph. Oh, it's very, very serious. Maybe you're not going to have a good response to this. Yep. Now, there is Abby's sister, perhaps the person that one of the victim characters in the Midas game is based off, because turns out that Abby Silver's older sister is Professor Naomi Feynman, a professor of psychiatry at the University of Hertfordshire. She chairs a global action group researching problematic use of the internet, which includes gambling, porn, cyberbullying, social media, and gaming. Now, I just want to be very clear. I think that Twitter is half ruining society. I think that all these algorithms and shit are totally fucking people up. Mm-hmm. And I really do think that there is a chance that's almost impossible to solve societal rot that will end up with an utter human hellscape. I think it's a very real possibility. So I will just say, for what Professor Feynman covers, I think that is extremely important shit that we absolutely need to deal with well, and I do think that there's probably some role that the government has got to play that is a regulatory role as it comes to the Facebooks and the Twitters and all of that stuff. There probably is, given how those things are going to be in society. So I do want to make that clear. This is not just a situation of, oh, somebody's potentially going to say something bad about games and we like games, so screw them. Oh, no, not
at all.
It's specifically this whole thing, the Telegraph, is rather stupid, and we have to examine this as we talk about bias. Yeah. So this is all important stuff, but we can see how some biases would creep in via the sister story. Bias could also creep in via other directions, though. And right now it is a battle of bias versus considerable money in the industry.
It's complicated. It's a complex situation. There's loads of money in the industry. There's loads of money in fighting against the industry. There's loads of bias on the side of, people who just play games would, likely never see the issues that people can have with games and go, oh, it's games. It's, the human equivalent of works on my machine.
Yeah.
Where it's like, yeah, well, I don't have a problem with being addicted to video games. So, like, how dumb do you have to be addicted to games? And then the other side, which is this person who doesn't understand games at all, seeing, like, their child go through genuine suffering where, they may be running away from problems at school or problems at home via games. But then the problem is, people are looking at it from every way. They're looking at it from a shallow basis, from an emotional basis, not looking to the real core of it all. And then you've got loads of biases trying to fight off each other. And it results in this real big messy situation where no one can sit down and go, okay, what's the actual problem and how do we deal with it? And that's the problem here. Like,
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of this just comes down to leadership. And when you think about the role of a parent, it is a leadership role.
Yeah.
And it's not about just being like, child, you are playing too much Fortnite. I, the parent, say no, and I take your router. Of course, completely not knowing the kid's just going to use the 4G hotspot on their phone to play Fortnite. That's not the role of a good leader. That's not how a good leader deals with the problem.
No.
You know, a good leader is going to think, how can I raise up the troops, elevate the troops, provide them with a situation for success? Now, it's really hard when you are dealing with a child, because how a child is going to interact with these systems is very different from an adult, because there's literally parts of the brain haven't developed yet. What I would say is where we need to go with this is radically thinking about, and I don't want to get too big into this, but education and just what the role of parents in the modern era. Because I think right now we have a situation where, look, let's just say we zoom ahead and somehow the two of us have kids. Now, we are going to very much know the shit those kids are going to be dealing with. Not all of it, because I'm sure technology will escape us at some point. But we're going to get it. We're going to basically get it. Now, you've got a whole bunch of people who did not grow up with any of this shit, who do not understand it. You know, you've got people who, like, I mean, we've all seen, right? Even the people who are, you know, in their sort of 30s and 40s, who just missed out and basically can't use a fucking computer. That's most of the parents. So what we need to do is work out, not from a top-down level, there could be some rules for that, but from a bottom-up level, how we deal with this shit, how we lead children to be able to deal with these things in a more positive way, where it doesn't just feel like someone is appearing with a PowerPoint presentation to them, in a way that they can actually engage the kids. And I think that's basically the thing. These companies and all these games, they're way better at engaging kids than most of the traditional shit, because that's not leveled up. That's not really leveled up to get an understanding of how things are in the modern era. I think for a lot of parents, it's like that. That means the parents can't deal with these situations. It basically means the parents can't sort of, I guess, preempt issues with leadership. They just deal with the symptoms once the problem has taken root. That's maybe why we have so many problems like this.
Yeah, because, I mean, I guess the problem would, and this is entirely speculative because I don't know Abby Silver's story, but I can imagine the story pretty handily through what I understand about people in games and whatnot. But there's a decent chance that her kid started playing a load of Fortnite for some reason, some external reason that wasn't, you know, maybe Fortnite's just good as fuck. But, you know, maybe actually started because he enjoyed it, started it for playing it for friends, but then maybe there's external factors kicked in. Maybe wasn't having a great time at school, you know, stayed up late to play Fortnite because he didn't want to go to school the next day.
Yeah.
Even simple things like that, where the kid's not going to communicate that very well because they might not even know it.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, even adults can't be introspective sometimes. Never mind a kid who's just, you know, working off nebulous feelings that they don't quite know.
Yeah.
And then, you know, Abby's going to come in after reading for like 6 to 12 hours, not really have the time or patience, and go, stop playing the fucking game. Get off Fortnite, you little bastard.
Maybe not like that,
you know,
but
maybe not. You know,
I do.
Yeah,
we've all been in the situation of, right? Many of us of playing too much games. The parents being like, "Would you get off that fucking computer?"
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. I think it's realistic. I'm not saying like. I mean, to be fair, I don't think it's a bad thing if you call your kid a little bastard. If it's a teenager and understands the connotation, I think that's fine. You know, I think that's fine. But this idea of just, you know, dealing with a symptom, not the root of the problem, not understanding the mechanics of how the root can turn into the symptom, where Fortnite's a problem. It's not that, you know, the kid doesn't have the best way of, you know, best outlet for what's affecting them in life. So it's stuff like that where I think that, like as to whether are these concerns actually valid? Absolutely, yes. I think the concerns are valid because life's really hard. Gaming's not that hard.
Yeah.
And I think that's the problem, where people see everyone playing video games loads and be like, well, this is clearly a fucking problem. But it's just, it's not the problem that, you know, it's not the problem that games are so good. It's that life's so bad by comparison. And that's what needs fixed, because if people live in decent, balanced lives, they will, more likely than not, gravitate towards some form of healthy balance.
Yes, just that our society right now is... I put it this way. Was it the Pentium 4 that people went insane overclocking? Did they get up to like 9?
Something like
3
that.
or 4, like they got up to like 9 gigahertz or something crazy with liquid nitrogen.
Something like that.
But basically, that's us now.
Mm.
That is all of society. We are all being assaulted for engagement and attention.
Yeah.
And I think that I wouldn't be surprised if cognitively we're just going to end up like an overused CPU, more prone to failure. We need to solve that problem. And it's not just games. It's not just Fortnite. It is absolutely everything going on in modern society. And if we just get lost in the weeds of a tiny specific thing like this,
Yeah.
we're going to not realize that this is a foundational principle, a foundational problem. And that is why it needs a robust bottom-up cultural and societal answer,
Yep.
rather than just, we're going to take away your video games because there's too many problems.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing I have done here in this document, where it's, these concerns are valid because gaming's highly addictive. Everything that's like positive emotion and gives us happy brain chemistry is just good.
Yeah.
And we live in, I mean, we're not exactly post-scarcity, but for a lot of the Western world, we kind of feel that way, where, you know, even someone who's not that far above the breadline will have ways to access extreme amounts of comfort. And that results in, you know, the obesity levels going up like crazy because people just, you know, they have access to good food all the time that just fucks with their brain consistently. And video games are kind of the same. But the solution isn't, oh, well, video games are clearly the problem, because that's not the problem. It's not, like, even ignoring all of the good that video games can do and all the things they have, even just going back to the fact they're just fun. It's like, I gotta ban that, and then when everyone's watching TV instead of playing games, you ban the TV. And then people are listening to music instead of watching TV, you'll ban the music. And then no one has anything good left, and their life's just a nightmare.
Yeah, like I've been in that situation where, you know, IRL shit has been hard to the point where I've barely had the energy to play games.
Yeah.
It's that weird thing of like, let's just say there's a really, you know, a tough movie that demands your attention but is really good, but you're like too tired and you know you won't be able to appreciate it properly.
Yeah.
You know, I've got to that stage in a few instances, which has just led to me just, you know, I'm on the sofa just like, it's like, no wonder my fucking neck's sore. I can tell you for a fact, I would have got, if that time was playing video games, I would have got more out of it.
Yep.
Because did I have bad posture? Yes. Did I have bad this, bad that? Yes, yes, yes. Bad diet? Yes, yes, yes. If I had all of those things, but I was doing video games instead of being a slob, at least I would have got a bit more social engagement. I would have been actively thinking about more things, and that probably would have been better than the alternative. So yeah, even if you remove video games, we still have issues.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I think. I think that gaming is generally unfairly stigmatized because it's gaming. Because it's new, people don't understand it as much, because it has that like child-oriented bent from it being introduced as, here's Mario, here's Sonic, here's all the kid stuff. I feel like it is unfairly stigmatized versus other forms of what I'm going to call brain-jacking nightmares that the world has deigned upon us. Video games are a pretty good version of that, but they're really stigmatized, especially I find I think less so in the US, like very publicly these days, but all of the big news stories have been coming from the UK, where the UK is the stuff where some of it might be the FIFA Ultimate Team because of the gambling stuff, but it's also just the Fortnite issues in the UK. And I think these stories are generally picked up and circulated around the UK more anyway.
Well,
for whatever cultural reason.
There's a few reasons. Like, I think the UK was very ahead of the times in having a vicious and horrible tabloid news sector. That is one thing.
Yeah.
And I think that perhaps just means that there's a lot more, you know, societal panic can happen in some ways. So I think that could be a part of it. Then there's even things like the porn regulations that happened, you know, with the government, which a bunch of people were like, hello, what? That's like one example. So there's like a little bit more of that. You know, I think America just has some, for good and ill, sort of differences in foundational opinion and things like regulation and stuff. You know, so it's hard to say why exactly it comes from the UK.
Yeah, but I'm trying to think of like the solutions obviously aren't just banning shit. That's
Yes.
never worked for anyone. Maybe short term, sure, but long term, no. I mean, the thing is, you want to educate people, you want to train people, you want to have everyone feeling more culturally responsible for themselves and for each other, and fundamentally, you want better parenting. But it's like, it's the thing that, you know, Abby's response and the general response, I think, in the UK is to run to the government for solutions. Because people can't solve things. It's like, you know, you go to the council, they don't do shit. You go to the press. You go to the press because that's where you get the most noise. You'll maybe make a bit of money on the side from selling your book. And also you'll maybe get this to, you know, that's how the government take notice, because the government's so tied to the press cycle. I've been watching a lot of the thick of it, so I kind of know about that. But it's like, this isn't a government problem. At least not by just saying, no, you're not allowed to do this thing anymore. It's a kind of thing where you can't keep your citizens in a bubble and protect them from all the bad things that could happen, because then all it takes is one bad thing to get through the cracks. All it takes is, you know, one opioid crisis in the US or one, you know, gaming pandemic in the UK, and suddenly your culture's completely wiped out and your citizens are, you know, they're not trained to defend against this stuff. So the point is, you have to make your citizens empowered. You have to give them the strength and the understanding of, you know, you speak to someone as a kid, even in school, maybe it's like, you know, teachers are going, all right, everyone playing video games, yeah, try not to play too much, you know, instead of going home and playing Fortnite, you know, we'll do something constructive at school one evening a week, that kind of thing. It's those programs and those things that I think can actually help long term. They have problems, but
I'd even say, think about this. In school is so fucking prescriptive.
Yeah.
There's a curriculum. It doesn't matter if you're interested in it or not. You have to do it.
Yeah.
You know, like, put it this way. There are ways where I basically know that if I had a way to leave school at 14, most of my life would actually be better. I am more interested in many of the subjects that I did at school now than I was at school, because I'm doing them in my way.
Yeah.
And it's just that thing where I think, at least for the education system that we experienced, and the Northern Irish one is supposedly the best in the UK.
Wild.
Which is insane to me. And apparently that puts us as being like better than the US and a whole bunch of other big countries too, which, if true, is horrifying.
I'm so sorry, everyone.
But like, ours was just so... You must learn the facts and figures. Independent thought, not particularly useful, because I, the teacher, need to get a certain pass rate for my class. Yeah. So if you are in this super linear kind of world as a kid, of course, you know, when you go home, you're not going to be trained to be thinking for yourself and stuff. And you then apply that to the attention economy. Of course, some big digital claw machine is going to come down from the ceiling or come out of your computer and grab you and take you in.
Yep.
Because we're not making strong populaces. No. Because basically everybody is doing their own small short-term incentive, and that means that we're basically not aligned towards the overall greater thing. And I think that does fold. Now that the pseudo philosophy bullshit's over, it all folds back into the games industry in a pretty obvious way.
Yep.
So there you go. I think we've rambled on for quite a while on this.
Certainly have.
Any final words, or should we wrap this baby up?
I think the only thing I could say is video games aren't bad. People abusing video games is the problem. And that's a problem that needs solved with empathy and not with video games bad. Ah! Yeah.
That's it. That is the take. And that is it for this video. Hope you found it interesting. Let us know what you think. And certainly if you have had any gaming addiction issues within your family or circle of friends, what was the way out of that? And do you have any examples in your own life, maybe parents, your parents, friends' parents, who have been able to equip their kids well to deal with games? And what did that actually look like? So let us know. Thank you for listening. See you next time.